So hi everyone, welcome to the codes and let's see how float properties work. So you have seen positions. Now how float is different from position is float always flows horizontally. That means if you have the elements by default in vertical direction but you want the elements to go in a flow horizontally, for that you use float property. Okay, for left alignment, for right alignment. Okay, so let's see how it works. So for that I'm going to have my boilerplate and let's have a div. Okay, and in this I'm going to have one image. So image, let's take download.jpg. so download.jpg. So if you want to see the actual implementation or you want to see some major changes, so put an image, otherwise you can just have your content. Okay, so alt, let's leave it and let's take a paragraph and add a lorem. Okay, and do one thing, go to word wrap and do it. Okay, I hope it's visible. Now see, I have a container which contains one image and one paragraph. Now open it with the live server. And see, you have an image and some text. But you might have seen some websites which contains one image and along with that there is some content on the right hand side. Or you see some content on the left hand side and there is an image on the right hand side. For example, about us. Okay, usually any website is having about us page which contains some image and some content on the right. So similarly you can do this too. So for example, if I have given h1, so I want to put h1 over here. Okay, about us. So let's put this, let's add a style where h1 I want to have text align center. Okay, so that means this is going to be in the center. Now this div, that means it's a container containing image and a paragraph. So see, this is the default position. Okay, this is the default position how elements are there on my web page. That means the first is the image, then there is some content. Now if you want to have a float property will never work if we have a position absolute applied to any of the container, which we have already covered in the previous lectures. Okay, so remember that it should not be absolute, otherwise you can apply float property. So let's see, if I have a container div, okay, div, and I want to set image float. For that you need to put a float property and its value is going to be left. Okay, so this image will be on the left hand side, but notice the content is on the right hand side here. So what happened is, whenever we apply float property to any of the element, it will influence other properties and that particular element will also behave in a float manner. So see, when I applied float to the image, I have not applied this to the paragraph, but it already got influence from the float property because float affects the surrounding elements. So its behavior for, see, whenever I will have, now if I am having one more paragraph, okay, of lorem. Now this paragraph will also get influence with the float property. Okay, and it will also get aligned to the right hand side. So, see, so what is happening over here is it is influenced by the float property. So whenever you apply float property to any element, that so the next elements, the surrounding elements will also behave in a float manner. So you have to free. So what you will do is, when you want to free these properties from float, you will have to use a clear property for that. Okay, so for now I am just removing this thing like this. But see, in here, if you will give right to this, the image will be on the right hand side and the content will be on the left hand side. See, this is how the float property behaves. Okay, so if I want to free this particular paragraph, so let's see how I can do that. So there are only three values of float property: left, right and clear. Clear means you want to clear that particular element from the float property. So see, if you will give a class over here, put a class para and select dot para and float. Now how you will clear that thing? See, if I am putting a property called clear, it will not clear like this. Okay, you want to put a property like left. Okay, and you have to, what you have to do, clear. So when you will write float left, it will move the element to the left. See, now it is free from this particular float. Now it is occupying its own space and putting it on the left side. But you want to clear it. For that, you have a clear property instead of clear value. So what you will clear? You want to clear the left property. Okay. So see how it is going to move. But you have given it a right, so it will not work. Put it a left. Now see what is happening. So when you have not given clear property, image is on the left side and the content is on the right side. But if you will give this paragraph a clear property of left, that means you want to free this particular paragraph from a float property, and you always have to specify the property you have used or applied to the previous element. That means, see over here, to the image you have applied float left. That means this paragraph is influenced by float property. Now you want to free it from the left, so you freed it from the left. So now it is taking its default position. Okay, so if you will write over here, right. So see, it's back to its position. That means if you are using right over here, then only you have to put a right, then this will get free. Okay, I hope you have understood this particular thing, that how float property works. If you are applying left float, then you have to clear that element with the left, and if you are applying right, then you have to clear another element with the property right. Okay, so that's all about float. Thank you so much everyone.